All right, so we've got a spicy video topic today, and that is why the Epoch is a little bit better than you think. Now, when this gun came out a while ago and people did their control group warbond reviews, I would say that most people came to the same conclusion that the Epoch didn't quite have the payoff for the risk of exploding yourself with the weapon. High risk, mid reward. And to be honest with you guys, I'm not really here to actually change that opinion or say it's super good. I do think that the risk versus reward isn't quite there, except I tested with this weapon a lot recently, and there are enemies that it actually really does excel at killing on all fronts: bugs, bots, and squids. The Epoch, for example, can actually one-shot chargers, which I will be showing you guys the tech behind this, but it also excels at just particular enemies on all of the fronts that we'll be covering in this video. Also, with all the new Xbox players, I'm pretty sure a lot of people have been recommending for them to get the control group warbond because the warp pack is in it, and you can use the warp pack to grind super credits, being able to teleport in the bunker solo and grind super credits that way. So with the new Xbox players possibly getting the control group warbond, this just also seems like a good time for this video. And I just personally find that it's a very fun weapon to use. So with that being said, before we get into the secret technology, if you're interested in some Helldivers drip, check out the sponsor of this video, syndicategg.com. Their link will be pinned in the description, but they've also sent me over 2 shirts, a 500 kg beanie and a 500 kg trucker cap. And I can tell you guys that these are nice quality. They don't feel like those cheap or like, you know, plasticky prints that you can sometimes get from other shops. They are good quality. So if you guys are interested, check that link in the pinned comment. Okay, so first things first, let's just show the one-shot charger tech with the Epoch. Now, the Epoch has the same breakpoints as Commando, which means for any of the heavy targets, it usually should take 2 shots, like 2 shots to the head of a charger, 2 shots to the head of a Bile Titan, 2 shots to kill a tank, and, you know, whatever else. But the Epoch actually does a little bit more damage than a Commando. And you can actually one-shot chargers if you get the maximum shot on their back armor. I know some of you were gonna expect me to say the leg or the butt, but you actually want to aim for their upper back armor. So when they are charging at you, don't shoot them in the head, aim a little bit higher and hit their back. This cracks open their back armor and makes them start bleeding out. And if you get a full charge shot, they will literally bleed out in seconds. But what's really nice with the charger inner flesh under their broken back is if you don't get the fully charged shot, you still can very easily break that back armor plate off, and their inner flesh underneath the back actually takes 300% damage to main compared to any. This is the only spot on the charger that does this. So what's really nice about this tech is that if you don't get the full charge shot off, you can still break open the back armor most of the time, and they are basically like one shot from the cookout, for example. Maybe you could just toss a grenade at them, or oftentimes in squads, there's lots of fire or gas on the bugs anyway. They will die pretty quickly after you shoot their back armor off. Okay, so I wanted to show that at the start of the video, but we're gonna take a break from the enemies for a second, because there is one tip which I learned from Aravin's control group warbond review, and that is the animation cancel and fast reloading of this weapon. Now, I'm just going to be covering this for anyone who didn't see Aravin's video, because this animation cancel is an absolute game changer. The Epoch has a 2-stage reload, so it has, you know, popping the tube out and then actually sticking the tube back in. These are 2 separate reload animations that you can kind of cancel in between and do separately. Now, we're actually going to cancel each stage early before each stage finishes the animation. So the first stage, like I said, is popping out the tube. The moment that the tube is fully out, hit your crouch button and stand up, and then hit your reload button again to load the tube. And the moment you see that your ammo counter is full, that's when you cancel the second stage and your Epoch is ready to go. Now, just so you guys know, most actions in the game will cancel the reload animation. For example, hitting your melee button, diving away, swapping weapons, hitting your stratagem button. A lot of these sort of actions will cancel this animation, and it's just got kind of good to know this. Normally I just use the crouch button, but like for example, if I'm trying to get a very quick reload off and enemies are rushing me, I will dive away to cancel the second stage, and then my Epoch will be ready to go once I'm ready for another heavy. Okay, so back to the enemies. Let's just stick to the bug front for now, and the strongest that the Epoch is on the bug front right now is the Impaler. The open weak spots when Impalers have their tentacles in the ground does not even require a full charge shot, mainly because the Impaler weak point is completely unarmored, and getting to the full charge on the Epoch changes it from Armor Pierce 4 to Armor Pierce 5. Now, it's not a minimum charge to kill an Impaler. You do definitely have to charge it. I'm not sure how little charge you can get away with, but like, for example, if you're shooting an Impaler, there's no need to be risky going for that full charge. You don't need it. Just charge it just enough that you think it's enough, get a little bit of practice with it, and it will take it out super easy. So pretty much the only main bug left is the Bile Titans, and the Epoch simply two-shots them in the head with fully charged shots. But oftentimes when I'm playing, half the time I don't even get the fully charged shot off, and it'll kill them usually within 3 shots, which is 1 full magazine for a Bile Titan, which is pretty decent. Now, I also got a couple of nice Bile Titan kills I'll throw on the screen, where before the Bile Titan even saw me, I lined up a strafing run, and then as the strafing run was going off, that's when I took my 1 Epoch shot. So it was like 1 strafing run and 1 Epoch shot. Felt pretty cool to pull off and felt pretty comfortable before the Bile Titan even noticed me as well. And one last enemy that's coming out next week that I would like to speculate on is the Bile Dragon. The Epoch might end up being a fine weapon against this enemy, especially because it's going to be flying around, and I'm assuming it'll be hard to hit those headshots with something like a Recoilless or something like a Quasar. Half of the Epoch's damage is splash damage, which means that non-precise headshots, like if you land it near their body, it'll still deal splash damage to their head most likely, and it might end up punishing you less compared to if you miss like a Recoilless shot or a Quasar shot. The Epoch has the most ammo out of any of the anti-tank weapons. It has a fast reload once you get the reload tech down, and it doesn't require a backpack. So as soon as the update drops next week, the Epoch might be one of the first weapons I try against them, so I'll make a pinned comment later next week, or if it's really good, I'll probably end up posting another video about it. Okay, so moving on to the bots, I honestly think the Epoch is one of the best weapons easily to bring against the Jet Brigade. And this is for 2 main reasons. Number 1 is Jet Brigade hulks. Normally, on a regular Hulk, the Epoch needs to either shoot it in the eyeball or the heat sink to be able to one-shot it, but the jetpacks on the Jet Hulks are extremely exposed to splash damage, and the Epoch can one-shot Jet Hulks anywhere to the body. But the other enemy on bots right now that can be extremely annoying is the War Striders, and not many weapons at all in the game feel good to shoot War Striders with. The Epoch can dispatch of War Striders in 2 charge shots anywhere to their body. It doesn't matter if you shoot 2 completely different body parts. At least from my playing, I've tried just random body parts, like I would shoot 1 railgun off, and then I would do the second charge shot to the body, and they died every single time I shot them twice. And it also seems like I've never played a Jet Brigade mission with tanks in it. It seems like for some reason, Jet Brigade always has War Striders instead of tanks. So on Jet Brigade in particular on the bots, I honestly think the Epoch is one of my favorite weapons. I do also think it's one of the best options against the Jet Brigade. Now, against tanks or cannon turrets in general, you can one-shot them to the heat sink, but if you can't get a heat sink shot off, it's 2 full charge shots to their armored parts. Now, on factory striders, it is a little tough to kill them solo. You can do 3 full charge shots to the eyeball. If you do get underneath it, it is good to go for the belly, but you will likely need some help, especially if the factory strider is charging you down. The Epoch, like many other weapons, can deal with factory striders, but you maybe want some help with it. Maybe throw a thermite up to it, or maybe someone on your team with a Quasar. Quasar is pretty common against bots. Maybe they can help you take it out, because the Quasar isn't really that good at factory striders either, so maybe you can use some teamwork there. But on the bot front in general, I truly think it's mainly a Jet Brigade weapon. Personally, I probably wouldn't bring it to like the flame bots or even regular bots, unless you just want a weapon that's really good at killing War Striders and has a ton of ammo, and you can fill it up with ammo packs. Compared to like the Commando or the EAT, which are one-time call-ins. I really do like those weapons. as well, but the Epoch is really nice for War Striders. So now let's talk about Squids, and the Epoch is surprisingly good against flesh mobs. Now, I did talk about flesh mobs in my Xbox tips and tricks video. Flesh mobs have most of their body parts. They have 8 heads, 2 legs, and 2 arms. Only their 2 arms are fully explosive immune. The rest of their body parts only have partial immunity, which means that the large amount of splash damage from the Epoch deals damage to them multiple times. Now, I didn't go into a game and test strictly against a flesh mob because it just felt so easy to kill them that I didn't think it warranted any testing. With full charge shots, I wonder if you can 2-shot it, but I was always killing flesh mobs within 3 charge shots. And keep in mind, I don't always get the full charge off. I'm not playing perfectly with the Epoch or anything. I'm just charging it up until I hear the loud pitch beeping and then shooting it. Now, with that being said, if you don't kill, usually what I'll do is I'll get 2 like nicely charged shots on a flesh mob, and then I'll switch to my primary or set them on fire somehow. I really like the Breaker Incendiary against Squids, but lots of people like bringing the Crisper, any sort of fire grenade, Pyrotechs in particular are really nice, but 2 like nicely charged shots and then set them on fire and they're usually dead after that. Now, what's also nice about the Epoch on Squids is it can one-shot groups of Overseers, which always feels nice, especially the flying Overseers, but if there's like 3 melee Overseers running side by side, you can one-shot that entire group. And the Epoch is the same against Harvesters as the Commando, except it can't one-shot the leg joint of a Harvester. But what's nice is the Epoch 2-shots Harvesters anywhere. Now, I will tell you, I don't think the Epoch is like particularly better on Squids than other support weapons like the autocannon or heavy machine gun. But a lot of people want to bring stuff like Commando to Squids, or they want to bring the railgun. But the Squid ablative armor soaks up projectile damage, and the Epoch is fully splash damage. And it kind of does feel like a good weapon for the heavier targets, and again, it has 15 shots and you can resupply. It does have pretty solid ammo economy if you're just using it mainly to focus on the heavier enemies. It can one-shot stingrays for that matter. I don't know if I have a clip of that. I'll throw it in if I can find it. And with that being said, let's talk about Leviathans. Now, the Epoch can 2-shot the Leviathan cannons, which honestly is not super solid, and I really don't recommend shooting the Leviathan with it, and that is because the Epoch only has like a 150 meter max range before it auto detonates. So let's quickly talk about my thoughts on the Epoch. That is all the tips and tricks for the enemy. Now, I never posted a control group warbond review, so I do want to talk about this for a second. Personally, the number one thing I think absolutely needs to be changed about the Epoch is the 150 meter maximum range. The fact that the Epoch already has a lot of downsides, one of them is just if you charge too long and you explode it. But the second one being that the projectile acts like other plasma weapons. It has large bullet drop as it goes further and further through the air. I really don't understand why this weapon even has a maximum range, and I think that this aspect of it absolutely needs to be changed. Even if it didn't, again, the bullet drop would drop through the air. It would be extremely difficult to be precise with this weapon from like 300 meters or something. I doubt you would ever hit an enemy's weak point. Now, the one other thing I do think I would like to see changed about the Epoch is possibly giving it a bit more splash radius. I honestly think the damage of this weapon is pretty awesome. It has the same breakpoints as Commando, but it even does slightly more damage than Commando, which can make it nice against certain enemies, like the Charger back armor, for example. And I think the Commando is a great weapon. It's one of my favorite support weapons. So I don't think it needs more damage. I think it needs more splash radius. The devs did mention that they were trying to make a weapon kind of in between an anti-tank and a mobbing weapon, where it was, they gave it damage similar to the Commando because that's like the smaller anti-tank launcher. But when it comes down to it, the Epoch doesn't feel that great for mobbing unless they are like very tightly grouped together. It only has like a 3 meter outer radius, which is the same as the Purifier. And the Purifier is like the primary version of the Epoch. So it seems strange it wouldn't have like at least double that at 6 meter splash radius, given that it is a support weapon. Now, I also saw a really cool idea, and I'm sorry for not crediting whoever said this because I just can't remember, but what they had said was, what if the uncharged shot had a lot of splash radius, where it had like 6, 7, or 8 meter splash radius uncharged, and the uncharged shots also have low damage. And then as you charged it, it got more damage, but the splash radius got smaller. So it's like the uncharged shots are more so for mobbing, but the charged shots are smaller and for anti-tank. And I do think that's a really cool thematic idea, because I will say that the Epoch's uncharged shots feel completely useless. Like, obviously they're not completely useless, but it does feel like you only get value out of this weapon when you are charging it to make it go up an armor pen, and it just straight up doesn't feel good for mobbing. And I do believe that the developers who made it said that it was supposed to be in between, where it's a little good for mobbing. Now, I just think that would be like a cool thematic idea, like the charge condenses and becomes stronger. It seems pretty like a cool idea to me, and that's why I like it. And I also think, for what it's worth, even if it got a bit better for mobbing with uncharged shots, it really still wouldn't be better than a dedicated mobbing weapon, because the Epoch only has 15 ammo before you need to resupply. So even if you wanted to use it for mobbing, it just wouldn't be as good as those other dedicated weapons. You would still probably use it primarily as an anti-tank weapon. It's just that it would become more flexible. So those are my overall thoughts on it. I do think this weapon needs to get improved a little bit, but I just found some cool tricks with it, like one-shotting the charger, and it was really solid versus like flesh mobs, and it was one of my favorite weapons now against the Jet Brigade. So I just wanted to show that off in this video, and with that being said, can't wait to try this thing against the Dragon next week. But that's it for the video. Drop me a like on this video and subscribe. Comment down below what you think. I'll see you guys next time. I'm out.